Wonder Woman is the latest DCEU film, and it stars Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Robin Wright, Lucy Davis, Connie Nielsen, Danny Houston, David Thewlis, Elena Anaya, and it's directed by Patty Jenkins, who made Monster, and just that, like, she's done some TV work, but she did Monster, and then all this time later, her next film, Wonder Woman. I don't know how you go from that to this. It's just talent, I guess, the luck of other people dropping out and having good timing. Nothing about the movie Monster makes you think, yes, that's totally the Wonder Woman director, but it worked out pretty well. And this story follows Diana of Themyscira, Wonder Woman. Back in the early 1900s, they live on Themyscira, all the Amazonian women. They live there alone. They're just these proud warriors, created to keep balance. Like, there's humans, there's gods, the Amazonians, but essentially Amazons live on a secluded island hidden from the rest of the world until Steve Trevor, played by Chris Pine, comes across it. And then Diana realizes, while bonding with him, man's world needs saving. The First World War is going on. Bad things are going to happen. She has a heroic duty bound to her to go help. She goes to the real world, discovers some of the quirks about it at the time, gender politics and all, and then is an inspiring hero to go out there and kick some serious ass and be a hero. And yeah, that's Wonder Woman, more or less, to keep it vague and not give away too much. And Wonder Woman is one of the classic superheroes of all time. You think of them. You got Superman, you got your Batman, Spider-Man, all these famous heroes that you think of immediately. Wonder Woman's up there, and she's never had a movie like a real movie. There's been TV movies, and she had that classic show way back in the day. It was the 70s. The Linda Carter show is iconic, and that's been people's memory of Wonder Woman for a long time. But since then, you know, maybe an animated movie here or there, but she hasn't had a whole lot. She hasn't had an actual movie, but she did have an awesome kick-ass, basically cameo appearance in Batman v Superman, and was the best part of that movie for sure, besides the good old Ben Affleck Batman. But she was wonderful, and it really gave me hope that she could have a kick-ass movie of her own, and she's finally getting one. DC is somehow beating Marvel to the punch on something. They're getting a female-led superhero film out first that doesn't suck. I'll put it that way, because in the past, you know, Marvel, they've made some shitty female superhero films, and so has DC. They've made a few that are less than enjoyable, or maybe totally guilty pleasure, awesome amazingness, and how terrible they are. But Wonder Woman's finally getting her movie. Little girls can finally have a role model to look up to, leading front and center a film and be like, yes, Black Widow's cool and all, Scarlet Witch, maybe less so, but Wonder Woman, she's finally up center. Little kids, there's your hero, there's your icon, someone to strive towards, try to be like Wonder Woman. Inspiring, yeah? So let's talk about it. Wonder Woman herself, Gal Gadot, one of the best parts of Batman v Superman. How is she in this? Pretty good, and as an actress, she keeps getting better, because back in the early 2010s, like Fast Five, she was there to get her butt grabbed. She wasn't much of importance in those films, but she was enjoyable enough anyway, but not the best actress, and she's come a long way in terms of she actually is able to carry a film, even though, like, this film was layered with great supporting actors, but her main center up there, she's Wonder Woman leading the thing. She's not shitting the bed like, oh god, too much too soon, I can't handle it, and the movie's failing. No, she does good. She's able to captivate, hold the screen. She's a good actor. She's not the best. I mean, there's better actors in this that really show her up because they're just super talented and awesome and charismatic, and just they have it. They have that great actor in them. But Gal Gadot is good. She's very good as Wonder Woman. I liked her a lot. There's so many times in this, though, where Gal Gadot gets me. It's like, yes, I'm inspired. You're Wonder Woman. You're badass. You're awesome. And she has really good dramatic, emotional moments, too. So it's not just she's good at kicking ass and then can't act her way out of a paper sack when she, like, has to be dramatic. She does good all around. And, I mean, it doesn't hurt. She's great to look at, and when you do put her in the action scenarios, there is CGI, obvious CGI in here where it's like, yeah, and there's animated Gal Gadot, but she can really strike a pose when she needs to just look epic. She can do it. But by far, the MVP of this movie, the standout star that was just the absolute best, was Chris Pine. The guy is fantastic in everything I see him in. And in this, as Steve Trevor, he's wonderful. The guy, he's a spy. He's just a good, heroic guy that wants to do the right thing. He gets to take Diana to the real world and play with gender politics like, well, it's the early 1900s, so women are just secretaries, you see, and all this and that. They don't overdo it too much. They do it just enough where it's tastefully done, so play it for some humor, Diana, fish out of water, but it's not overbearing, and he's just an introduction to the real world, and he's a good kick-ass hero. He's a likable guy you want to follow. You really care for him, and him and Gal Gadot together, they mesh. There's a connection, a relationship. You really like them together, and he's just wonderful. Chris Pine's just a totally charismatic, likable actor, but he also has really good dramatic moments. He's not there just to be fun. He's got some real heft to his character at times, and him and Wonder Woman, they're pretty much in the movie together. Once they meet up, they're barely ever separated. They're a team. It gets to be a team where it's like, yes, we got Wonder Woman, she's awesome, and Steve Trevor's right there with her. They're great together. Thankfully, they're in the movie a lot together. It was great. Then Lucy Davis as the comedic relief for the movie. Etta Candy, the secretary. She's fun. She's enjoyable. She's the a little bit of like, that's what old-timey women were like, but yeah, she's comedic relief, and she does good. Robin Wright as, I believe it's Wonder Woman's kick-ass aunt. She's wonderful. In her smaller role, she's badass. And then Wonder Woman's mom, also really damn good. David Thewlis, his role overall is like, it's a little bit smaller than you might have wanted it to be in the movie, considering everywhere it goes. But I like him for the most part. Towards the end of the movie, it's like, I don't know, it's one of those things where it's like, maybe I would have adjusted a few things personally to make it work better, but then we got some of our villainous characters in the movie. This I was really nervous about, because Danny Houston, you know what movie he was in? Yeah, he was the villain in that, and it was not good, and I've never really liked him in any movie I've seen him in, and I was really nervous. And in this, he's fine, okay? He does good enough, and for what he has to do in the movie, it worked okay. And then our other villain, also pretty decent, good enough. A few surprises here and there. Like with the villains, there's a surprise or two where it's like, I like this more than I thought I might. A few twists and turns where it's like, yeah, sure, cool. Overall, I was satisfied with the villains. They could have been a little bit better, but at the same time, it's kind of the Marvel effect where it's like, yeah, the villains are maybe a little underwhelming because we're putting a lot of focus on a great hero and making a great defined hero that you really want to follow. Like DC has lacked that. I mean, I like Ben the badass Batfleck Batman, but he's a bloodthirsty savage that's murdering people, so as much as I enjoyed like his badass fight scenes, they get the characterization off, which affects how much I can enjoy it. And Superman, they've screwed that pooch twice in a row, so that's that. Don't get me started on Suicide Squad, but like Wonder Woman, they got a great hero that you really want to follow, so the villains fall by the wayside a little. The acting across the boards is generally great. It's great to really good. There's no like bad actors in the movie, thankfully. I was happy about that. And then the rest of it, like directing. Patty Jenkins directs it really good. All the actors do good, which means as a director, she directed them well, so credit for that. And as someone who only did like a small indie film, like I know it's not all her job to do it, but the action sequences throughout are very cool. Very well done. You know, there's some obvious CGI here and there, but there's generally moving moments where I just get goosebumps and chills. And it was the direction mixed with the great use of cinematography in the movie, the way it looks, the way the camera moves, the beautiful music at times, and not to mention the use of color. The color in this movie, vibrant, vivid at times. It's not all washed out. You know, sometimes it worked in the other DC movies, the washed out, colorless look, or the Zack Snyder look, where sometimes it looks terrible, sometimes it looks good. Here, across the boards, it looks great. And there's so many times in the movie, like the colors just add to a beautiful spectacle I'm looking at. I was moved. I got goosebumps and chills. Wonder Woman's heading onto the battlefield. The No Man's Land sequence, one of the best sequences in a movie I've seen this year so far, and in a superhero film in general. I got goosebumps. I was like, this is fantastic. They get the character. They're doing Wonder Woman justice because this is inspiring, uplifting. That's a hero. That's badass. I love it. And this movie strikes a good balance because it has very inspiring moments where you're like, yes, that's a hero. I feel good. You're uplifted. It's fun and enjoyable and entertaining, and it can be dark and dramatic, and you feel like, oh man, like it's got all these different tones, but it keeps a good balance so that it's like a well-rounded movie and not really one-sided and just dark, depressing, and there's no fun and you want to die. And as far as the overall action in the movie goes, I will say it's a little bit lacking in action. We basically have one action sequence, one big action sequence for every act in the film. The first act, the middle, and then the final act, they all have a big action set piece moment. And the first two, wonderful, great. And then the last one, like the big climactic action sequence, it's just kind of like par for the course, usual old meh. You can watch any sort of superhero film and it's similar. You know, is this that much different than what we got in BVS or Man of Steel? In a way, because the stakes in this one, they're super high, but also they're toned down in terms of scale. Wonder Woman's out there in the real world during World War I and all this and that, but it's not the same old garbage of every building gets destroyed and this and that. It's like toned down. We can have a superheroic god fighting, but in a way where it's not all about the collateral damage, it's more about the characters involved and what they're doing and their motives, how it's affecting them, and less about overall destruction porn, which is nice. Thank God we got that. Even if the last action sequence isn't exactly the most memorable thing, it's toned down, it's not ridiculous and just annoying and in your face. I'm happy with that. And the other action sequences are, as I said, like the first one, really, really good, and then, yeah, the No Man's Land sequence, oh, it's like the holy grail of a scene you want in a superhero film. It gets everything you want. Good action, inspiring, emotional. You get a great hero in there to follow. Magnificent. And that's another great quality to this movie, is you've got a hero you want to follow. Wonder Woman, they did her justice, they did her right. Little girls can look up to Wonder Woman and be like, yes, I want to be like her. They can be inspired and have a nice role model. They did it well. A great character to follow. She's a god driven by a sense of what's right to do good, so she's going to go to man's world to protect them, because if they can't protect themselves, she might as well help them, and she's a good person you want to follow. She's likable. There's a sense of heroicism that is just romanticized in a really good way, where they just are portraying what a hero should be. You know, we've got Superman twice. He's not a heroic guy. I don't watch Superman in the movies and feel like that's a hero I want to follow. He makes me feel better at who I am and what I'm doing. No, kind of a whiny emo who likes to break shit, and Batman, a bloodthirsty serial killer savage. No, but Wonder Woman, she inspires me. She's an inspiring hero, and it's just like, that's what it is. They have a sense of heroicism in the movie. Something where, here's what a hero is, we're going to show it to you, we're going to do it well. They knock it out of the park. And it's not just Wonder Woman being a great hero, she's inspiring others and inspired by the others around her. They bring the best out of each other. They have their own little group of heroes in the movie that they form, their little renegades, and they bring the best out of each other. She inspires them to be better heroes and human beings, and they bring the best out of her, and it's great, and it's just a bunch of heroes showing, you know, to be a hero, it doesn't necessarily mean you can destroy the most shit or kill so many people. You can find a heroism in other things that you might not even think about, or what makes you a good person, in ways that aren't just defined by how tough you are and how much ass you can kick. And that's good. That's really good. And not to mention the great romance in this. Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor, you know, they're great together. Chris Pine and Gal Gadot, wonderful. They play off each other really well. It's very cutesy, very fun, and it's believable. It's one of the best romances in a comic book superhero film in general, because I think of a lot of them, and half the time the women are just there to be there. And in the women-led superhero films, it's even worse, because it's some dude that's just pathetic. Like, think of Catwoman. Think of how pathetic that guy was. He was just there to be there. It's very sad. But in this, Wonder Woman can be a good hero. So can Steve Trevor. He doesn't have to be put in the background and forgotten about until she needs someone to make out with. They're great together, and they do it right. And on that topic, because Wonder Woman, female-led superhero film, it's kind of a feminist movie, but in a good way where it's done right. Because feminism, when done right, should make for a good movie for anyone to watch. Not like Ghostbusters 2016, where put the woman up on a pedestal and all the men are idiots and suck and they're losers. No, feminism should really, from my understanding, should just mean presenting women in a great light, not necessarily unflawed, but just giving them good stuff to do, being interesting, and letting them shine on their own. But not at the expense of bringing everyone else down. Like, you don't gotta bring men down to raise up Wonder Woman. Steve Trevor's allowed to be awesome and fantastic, and so is Wonder Woman, and she's out there being a great hero, and it's inspiring. Women can watch it. As a man, I was inspired. I didn't feel like the movie's talking down to me like, Steve Trevor sucks and you're nothing, you're a man. No, I was like, that's an awesome female character, and you want to see awesome female characters. Furiosa and Mad Max Fury Road, wonderful. Wonder Woman, same thing. It's not pandering feminism, it's not annoying, it's just presenting a really awesome female character in general. Like Themyscira, there's that scene where we're getting to see a bunch of great female warriors training and just being who they are, and it's inspiring, and you just feel cool watching and you feel moved. Things get political when there's feminist agendas to movies, but it doesn't really have an agenda. It's just feminist in the terms of it's about women and a woman, and she's awesome. So that's all it really needs to be said about it. So yeah, Wonder Woman is a fantastic film in general, just on its own rights. It's fantastic. In terms of the DCEU, far and away the best of them. Way better than any of the other ones. Not even close to being touched. It is that good. And in the superhero genre, so good. Like, on its own rights, it's a great movie. And in the superhero genre, one of the best. Like, it's up there. I wouldn't quite say, oh, The Dark Knight better watch its back, or this or that. I think it's better than most Marvel DC films. It sits nicely around the top. It's not perfect. The villain, a little underwhelming. The last battle sequence, kind of meh. It's got nice spectacle and stuff, but at the same time, it's not the most memorable. But overall, it's a really fun, entertaining movie. It's got some great uniqueness to it. It's another film where it's like, here's a superhero, but it's back in olden times. You know, Captain America, the first Avenger, that was a World War II superhero film, but it sucked. This one, World War I superhero film, much better, more enjoyable. It has its gender politics in a way that's not annoying. We got an awesome female superhero film. That is a feather in its cap that cannot be taken away. That is something that there's never been another one. I'm trying to think. There's been other female characters that are superheroes, but like none that have led a movie on their own. They're good. I really can't think of any. Hit Girl's awesome. The Incredibles had a lot of awesome females in it. The Avengers has Black Widow, but there's none where front and center it's a woman and she's great. And it's a good movie. That's not happened yet. So hats off to Wonder Woman, and it's not just a good movie in those standards, it's a great movie. Was there maybe a slight lack of action? We got 3 big sequences in favor of developing the character more to make her a better hero and someone you really want to follow, and developing the characters all around so you try to understand them as much as you can, have a compelling story at the expense of maybe 1 or 2 other big action sequences. So be it. It was a really good movie. I loved Wonder Woman quite a bit. I would give Wonder Woman an A. It's not perfect, but I still loved it, really enjoyed it. One of my favorite superhero films. Comment below, tell me your thoughts on Wonder Woman, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.